Welcome, episode 8 of 585 Takes. I think it's our second episode in for this week, so we're hitting the ground running. A couple topics to talk about this week. We're going to talk about the NBA trades that have happened over the last 24 hours. We're going to talk about college coaches going to the NBA, and I have another hot take, so I'm going to go back to back. Yep. I know you guys are excited.
I don't know if it can get any hotter. The stove is already scorching.
Oh, you'll see it. You'll see it in a second. So we're back. I think we get right to it. Do we want to talk about Giannis, Randall, or we want to talk about Io?
We have to address Giannis.
Okay.
Agreed.
Who wants to start this one?
I'll lay out the full trade details, and then I'll let you guys kind of talk about it a little bit. So Giannis Antetokounmpo finally traded after what felt like years of trade talk. His 14-year run in Milwaukee comes to an end. Him and Bobby Portis traded to the Heat in exchange for Tyler Hero, Jaime Jaquez, Kasparis Jukonionis, not pretty sure I did not pronounce that right. Khalil Ware, 2026 first-round pick, which is the 13th overall pick, 2031 unprotected first-round pick, 2033 unprotected first-rounder, 2030 first-round pick swap, and 2033 second-rounder. So kind of the whole franchise for Giannis. Don't think the Heat have too many players left on the roster, but finally we got the Giannis trade that felt like NBA fans have been asking for a while now.
Yeah, I mean, the Heat threw the absolute house to get Giannis, and that's what we've seen recently. If you want to star in the NBA, you're going to have to give up everything. I mean, even just to get a guy like Mikal Bridges took the Knicks 5 first-round picks, so it's getting pretty ridiculous when you compare it to the other 4 major sports leagues. But I'm a little indifferent about the trade because I just don't know if Giannis puts him over the top. I mean, they're going to need some guys to spread the floor. And unless Bam has increased his three-point percentage drastically, I don't see how it's going to work out amazingly. I mean, they will be superb on the defensive end. I do think Hero would have been amazing to keep. It's also going to be very interesting on Hero's next chapter. I don't know if he's going to stay in Milwaukee. I know he's from there, but I do know that there have been some talks about them moving him before he even suits up or before the preseason even starts. So we'll see about that. But I don't know. I just don't think it really moves. I mean, it obviously makes them a better team, makes them a much more fun franchise to watch. I still don't think they have enough to compete with the Celtics or the Knicks as of right now. So we'll see. I definitely think they're going to continue doing more trade talks and make more deals. And I think that's what they're going to need.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be a championship caliber. They got to try to win in the next 2 to 3 years. If they don't win the next 2 to 3 years, this is a terrible trade for the Heat. Good job for the Bucks, picking up young players. You always take the picks. I think they got, Garrett, correct me if I'm wrong, 3. I was zoning off a little bit, but 3 picks, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the NBA is so weird because of unprotected and protected that it could be anywhere from like 3 to 5 picks or whatever. But, I mean, the big one was the 13th overall pick in this draft.
Yes, draft today as well. Yeah, and like Cole said, they're not going to be able to hang with the Celtics, even when the Celtics make a trade for Jalen Green. I still stand on that. But I don't know. I'm a little shaky on. I don't know what the rotation is going to be like for the Heat. I mean, yeah, you have Giannis, you have Bam, you have Davion Mitchell, you have Andrew Wiggins, and I just realized Norman Powell, who I've heard a lot about him, a lot of good things. He's also going to be a free agent this summer. Same with Andrew Wiggins too. So it's going to be hard to retain him based on how much money they have available. I don't know, because when you pay, Giannis and Bam are going to make a lot of money. They're going to take a high percentage of that team payroll. After that, it's going to get a lot lower on the guys and mid-level exceptions, and it's going to be hard to build a good team around those guys. So we'll have to see how this plays out.
Yeah, so it says Wiggins has a player option at $30 million for this next year, so I'm assuming he's going to opt into that. But yeah, like you mentioned, Norman Powell, they probably are going to try to resign him, but they just really don't have a lot of players right now. This kind of put a dent into their roster. But the overall outlook for me, starting with the Heat, is I like the trade. Do I necessarily love it? Maybe not, but I think they kind of were forced to play their cards, and you look at where the Heat were, they've kind of been a play-in team the last few years. They've kind of been stuck in a rut we saw them with Jimmy Butler and that exciting Heat team make it to a couple NBA finals. But since he moved on, they just didn't quite have enough. You know, Hero, Adebayo, they had a little bit of a nice young core, but it wasn't anything that was going to compete in the East or really move them past the first round. So I think they realized that with the group of guys they had to go make a splash, and this is the biggest splash they could have made, getting Giannis. They gave up, I think, a fair haul. I mean, it was going to take, guys like Hero, six man of the year runner up, and Jaime Jaquez Jr., the number 13 overall pick, to do so. And now it's just going to be about what they can do to fill out the rest of their roster. But for me, I think the Heat, I don't want to say won this trade because I think it was a pretty fair trade, but I kind of felt like the Heat were sort of forced to do this. It was either going to be this or they would have slowly head in the direction of a rebuild. So if they want to compete with Adebayo and make it work, then I think Giannis was kind of the only option for them. But I agree with you guys. I still don't think this makes the Heat the favorite in the East. DraftKings updated odds have the Celtics as the favorites to win the East, the Knicks, and then the Heat with the third best odds, which is kind of interesting. I will say, initially I've heard a lot of talk about, analysts, NBA guys saying that, this just puts the NBA or the Heat out of the play-in, but it doesn't make them a contender. I do think they can contend in the East now, depending on what they do with the rest of their roster. But with a front court of Bam and Giannis, that's the best in the Eastern Conference, and they'll at least, I think, be a top 4 seed.
Yeah, I mean, contending in the East isn't that difficult nowadays. We saw the Pistons secure the 1 seed, so it's really not saying much. I don't think it doesn't hold much value making them the third team to come out of the East on DraftKings, because I think that was pretty obvious. But I will say, just being upfront, I think it's a pretty tough look for Brad Stevens. I don't know. I've heard a couple things that the reason the Celtics weren't able to acquire Giannis was because he wouldn't give up some of the younger players like Hugo, Gonzalez, and Billy Shireman, and I think that's ridiculous. When you're looking at a guy like Giannis who will put up 30 a night, be the best defender on the court every single night, unless you're playing the likes of maybe Wemby, I think it's ridiculous that you won't give up a couple guys that are barely in the rotation in some big games. So I thought that was a tough look, and now it puts the Celtics in a straitjacket with Jaylen Brown. Because I don't know what you do in that scenario. It's obviously going to be an awkward building. Jaylen Brown now knows he's been attempted to be moved upon twice now, because they did try to trade and receive Kevin Durant before he went to the Rockets by throwing in Jaylen Brown's name. So this is the second time that Jaylen Brown is in trade talks, and it's coming right after an MVP caliber season. So that's going to create a lot of animosity, I would think, between the franchise and the player, especially knowing who Jaylen Brown seems to be as a person. I don't know, I haven't been up with his Twitch account, but it'll be interesting if he does any recent streams after this trade.
Yeah, real quick. I think a week or two ago, the Celtics offered Jaylen Brown and this year's first round pick as well as next year's for Giannis. And it sounds like they weren't really willing to budge. They offered that same thing today, and so the Bucks decided that they liked the Heat's trade package more. I'm assuming Jaylen Brown wasn't going to stay in Milwaukee, but I guess we don't really know. But yeah, the Celtics weren't really willing to budge anymore beyond those 2 picks in Brown.
Yeah, it's definitely unfortunate. I would have liked to see Giannis on the Celtics, me being a little bit biased. But yeah, it sounds like Milwaukee, it was like kind of a bidding war. I mean, why not maximize their value? I mean, hey, if I'm the GM of the Bucks, I'm going to be taking more picks and more young caliber players. I mean, it's a no-brainer. I mean, Brad Stevens, I don't know if he was being a little hesitant. He was being a little, cautious. He said, "This is my final offer," which was Brown and 2 first-round picks, one this year's draft, one in the next year, I believe. I mean, take it or leave it. There's no Pritchard, there's no Walsh, there's no Gonzalez, Shireman, or Hauser, and so on, and Brown as well. Miami offered more picks and more players, and Boston didn't. So, I don't know. I mean, as far as Jaylen Brown, it's definitely a little concerning. I don't know what the team chemistry is going to be like. I mean, if I'm in the last 2 to 3 years, if I've been the I've been in talks of trade packages, I don't know how I'm going to feel. So we'll have to see how that plays out for the Celtics.
Yeah. I mean, especially after the seasons he's had. I mean, you win Finals MVP, and then you are top 5 in MVP. I think he was number 6 for MVP voting this year, and your name is immediately back in trade talks. I mean, he didn't help himself with what he does in the offseason. that definitely does not help his case. But yeah, it's got to hurt if you're Jaylen Brown just always being thrown in these packages when it seems like you've given everything to the city of Boston. So
Yeah, I want to talk about a little bit about the Bucks' return before we talk a little bit more about the Celtics later in the episode. I think the biggest thing that the Bucks might have missed out on by refusing the Celtics trade offer is that franchise-altering player, which I think Jaylen Brown could have been, whether it was him or whether they flipped him for somebody else. They didn't really get that guy from the Heat. There's a lot of hope and potential in guys like Khalil Ware and Giannis, who are their two first-round picks the last 2 years, but I don't think Jaime Jaquez is a franchise-altering guy, and I think most of us think that they're going to flip Tyler Hero. I don't even think he's a franchise-altering guy anyway. It will be interesting as in just a few hours when the draft kicks off, they do have picks 10 and 13. So maybe they are able to package those up and move into the top 7 or 8 in what people are kind of calling an 8 or 9 player draft. It's a very loaded draft at the top. So I think that if they package those, they might be able to move up with a different team. But I think the Bucks were kind of just, they wanted quantity over quality with this package, and they just said, "Give us, all of the stuff." And one or two of these guys is going to pop. We're going to hit on one or two of these picks, and it's going to end up working. But if we're being honest, the Bucks would have gotten the most out of a Giannis trade if they did it last offseason instead of this offseason.
yeah, for sure, moving him earlier would have been ideal, but they didn't want to let him go. They were back and forth with talks trying to keep him there, and he just wouldn't budge. I actually think the Bucks dodged a bullet not doing this deal with the Celtics and doing it with the Heat instead. Because if you do get Jaylen Brown, obviously he's a massive name. I don't think Jaylen Brown's going to stay there, just like you said, Garrett, yourself. And the value you can get for Jaylen Brown, wow, he's coming off such a great season. And the fact that we haven't seen Giannis deep in the playoffs since 21 when they won it all. I do think the value you get for Giannis is so much larger than the value you're going to get for Jaylen Brown. So I think just straight up trading Giannis instead of getting Brown and then flipping him again was the better value option for them. So I do think they dodged a bullet on that one. And I think the Heat offer was so much better than the Celtics gave him. And yeah, I don't know where Jaylen Brown's going to go. I honestly think he's going to end up staying with the Celtics like he did when they looked at moving him for Kevin Durant because, I mean, for the last decade, we've heard people saying, hey, they need to split up the duo, but the duo did win a championship. And for the Bucks, they're just in full rebuild mode. I mean, they're getting all these picks. They're getting the young guys. At the end of the day, the Giannis was such a success. I mean, he won them their first championship in what? It was 50-ish years, right? I think it was 50 years that they went without a championship that Giannis delivered to them. He was such an amazing player for them. He completely turned around that franchise. So success story nevertheless, but it was time to move on, and Giannis was telling them that for years now.
And he kind of saved basketball in Milwaukee, which was not in a good place. It looked like somebody was going to come in and try to buy out the Bucks and move them from Milwaukee. So Giannis kind of kept them there.
Yeah.
I agree. Nothing more to be said there. I think we move on to the Julius Randle trade. Or do you guys want to go with the Sumo?
Yeah, we can talk about Randle.
Let's start with Randle.
Yeah, the full Randle details was Julius Randle and the 28th pick were what the Nets received in exchange for the 33rd pick, and Muhammad Gaye from the Bulls went to the Timberwolves, and then Nick Claxton went from the Nets to the Bulls. So it was a 3-team trade. At first, I was like really confused, and I was like, oh wait, it's just a salary dump. But the Timberwolves moved back 5 spots in the draft. For the Nets, I don't necessarily hate it. I don't really know what their plan with Randle is. But they did get to move up 5 spots in the draft, even though it's kind of towards that back end first round. And they got rid of Nick Claxton to the Bulls, which I don't really know why the Bulls were so eager to get him. But we saw it. I think the biggest storyline from this trade is the Timberwolves don't believe they can win with Julius Randle. And it makes it look like the Knicks definitely won that trade. So we'll see what the Timberwolves' plan is. We can sort of move one of our other storylines up and say that Ayo Dosunmu signed the 5-year, $112 million extension to stay in Minnesota for the foreseeable future. So that's how they use some of the cash getting rid of Randle. It'll be interesting what else they want to do with that cash because, I mean, they still have Anthony Edwards. They still think they're a title contender for the next few years. So the Nets now have a front court of Michael Porter Jr. and Julius Randle. Not a lot of assists are going to be had between those two guys. But I'm really interested to see what they kind of do in the draft tonight because I feel like they can move in a few different directions.
Yeah, I think the Wolves really shot themselves in the foot with this whole Randall trial. It clearly didn't work out, and meanwhile, as you mentioned, Karl-Anthony Towns is completely thriving in New York after winning a championship and just celebrating with them. So obviously, big failure at first. I'm not gonna lie. When going all the way back to when Cat and Randall were exchanged for one another, I didn't really think it moved the needle for either teams. So I'll take the loss on that one because it obviously Karl Towns did move the needle for the Knicks as he delivered or helped deliver them a championship. And for Julius Randle, it was tough to watch him go for literally nothing. I mean, the Wolves obviously they needed the cap space for Ayodesunmu, who is a very promising young player who really showed some great spurts in these playoffs. But I mean, you wish you could get something else for Julius Randle than just cap space because it's not like he's a complete bum. Like he's a good player. Maybe his effort and his mentality isn't always there, but he is a good player. And freeing up that cap space being it for them, it's tough to watch, honestly. The trial did not work out.
Yeah, you could say that again. I mean, definitely a tough scene for the Wolves. I mean, every player has flaws. Randall definitely has flaws. I do not love. I hate his effort. I hate his mentality. There's sometimes where he's just non-existent on the court. Sometimes you can just tell he's kind of only trying to get his with the shot selection that he has. But no one's really trading. No one's going to give the Nets Mobley or like Siakam or something like that. So I mean, I don't hate the move for the Nets. I mean, they're getting a flawed player that, like Garrett said, that team just want to dump via salary cap, just try to save it a little bit. And I don't know. I would have to fact check this, but I'm pretty sure Claxton has like a bad back. I think I read something during the season that he had to get like a cortisol shot. I think I would have to double check that. So I don't know why the Bulls, were like, yeah, let's get Claxton off that bad back. I don't really know. I think that's kind of overlooked because I know those are tough injuries to kind of play through or try to heal with. So I'll have to see that. I mean, I just feel comfortable that the Nets will probably win 30 to 35 games based on the current roster because they're just so young too. I think Randall and Michael Porter Jr. are the oldest with 6 years of experience, going on 7.
Yeah, I think the Nets would actually be kind of a sneaky team because I think Julius Randle thrives in the role of kind of being the number one guy and the best player on a team. And we saw it with the Knicks where they were able to really overachieve. Now, they're not going anywhere in the playoffs and they're not going to win any, playoff basketball, but in the regular season when teams are tanking and chasing losses, I do think a team led by Julius Randle can sneak in an extra few games. I just think it's so hard to win with him, and we kind of saw it best in Minnesota where they got to the playoffs, they got to the postseason, and him and Edwards were just on different agendas with what they wanted to do with those teams. So I wouldn't be surprised if Julius Randle goes and averages 25 for the Nets. I think it's going to be a bunch of empty calories for him if he stays there. But it does pose the question of what the Timberwolves choose to do now. Maybe somebody like a Kyrie I heard mentioned earlier today, or I still think they need more front court depth. I don't think Rudy Gobert and Naz Reid are going to be enough. But they signed Ayo Dosunmu, so they'll have him and Anthony Edwards presumably starting in the backcourt. They still have TJ Shannon. So I'm interested to see where they go from here because dumping Randall is not going to solve their issues and get them to the NBA Finals.
Super ironic how you bring up the lack of front court depth. If only they could use a guy like, I don't know, Karl-Anthony Towns. I think he'd be a good fit there. But no, seriously, Kyrie, I mean, he's kind of a plug and play type of guy besides all of his outside of the game stuff. But when you get in between the lines, I mean, he can pretty much play anywhere with any team and anyone. So Kyrie's obviously a good guy to look forward. It's also tough, everything with him off the court. I mean, he barely plays, and he's also just sometimes a cancer in the locker room. I mean, we'll say how it is. But I mean, it's tough in the West. They're such a good team, but they're not good enough. And I don't think anything like getting Randall off and signing Adebayo to a higher contract is going to change anything.
Go ahead. I'm kind of just doing. I'm trying to see if he actually had a core. I know he has a bad back. I'm trying to find it right now. Sorry,
Will you check that out? I feel like Nick Claxton has kind of hit his ceiling as a player. He was somebody that felt like maybe was going to spring and had all this potential a few years ago, but he's kind of just been whispering away in the woods of Brooklyn, just putting up mediocre stats, nothing too crazy. And I think he's kind of just going to be that for the Bulls. He's not a franchise-altering player. He can be one of the worst starting centers in the league or a solid backup center. But yeah, I don't really think it moves the needle from the Bulls' perspective much.
No,
I really don't know what the Bulls are doing. I really don't know what's going on.
I don't think they know either.
Yeah, I don't. Well, they just head coach who they just got somebody. Oh my God, Wolves assistant, right?
Tiago Splitter, no, yeah, Tiago Splitter.
Oh, jeez. Then who did? Oh, the Trailblazers got the Wolves.
Tiago Splitter was coaching the Blazers, and he was like doing good with them. And for whatever reason, El Cheapo was like, "Nah, he's not the guy."
Oh, yeah.
So then the Bulls swooped in and took him, which I think was actually a pretty good hiring for them.
Yes. I was gonna say.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we need to talk much about the Bulls or Nets in this trade. Not that Nick Claxton, he's not physical waste, but
I mean tonight's where the Bulls and the Nets have their party at the draft, not in the playoff talk.
No.
All right, next one. I really want to hear your guys' opinion on this because I have a very strong opinion. Trae Young declined his $49 million player option, ends up signing a 4-year, $212 million deal to stay in Washington. That's a lot of money for Trae Young.
Well, you go first. Yeah, you go first.
Don't even get me started on this one. I don't know what the Wizards are thinking. Not to mention they also have the first pick overall in tonight's draft, and I think we can all kind of mutually agree that they're going to go after AJ Dibonsa, or however you say his last name. But I don't know why you're giving Trae Young so much money when he's not a cancer in the locker room type of guy. He's just a cancer on the court. He's just a tough guy to play with. He needs the ball all 48 minutes of the game if you really want him to be an impactful player. And I really do think his Cinderella run with the Hawks, leading them to the Eastern Conference Finals that 1 year, has kind of, I guess, made his career. Not to say he's garbage. Like, he's not a terrible player, but he's just not a guy that I would like to center my team around and build my team around, especially knowing I have the first round pick. I wouldn't want to put much of my development into Trae Young. I'd rather center around AJ and give him the ball. So I honestly don't know what they're thinking. I was hoping that they would move him. I don't know for what, maybe for some draft picks or just salary cap, honestly. But I'm going to assume that's what you're going to say, Garrett. I can't wait to hear what you're going to say, Will, but I'm not a Trae Young evangelist when it comes to this guy. So I don't know what that move was.
Yeah, if the Giannis trade didn't happen, this would probably be the main topic of discussion. It's a crazy overpay. It's shocking that he got a bag and he had a crazy amount of money for, I don't know, for a guy, I think 7 months ago. They basically dumped his salary, the Hawks did, to the Wizards. Nobody was interested in giving up anything in value for him.
And the Hawks got better.
And the Hawks got better. They almost took down the defending champs. I don't want to say that. Or not that, yeah, they took down the champs. They were 2-1. Not saying that would have made a difference. But now he's suddenly making annual $53 million a year. I think it's crazy. Jalen Brunson, who is currently making an average, I think, of like $39 million, very high 30s. What is going on? So how is Trae? I don't understand how contracts work. Jalen Brunson, if I'm him, I'm seeing that Trae Young contract, and I am just being like, hey, like, I'm so much better than him. I just took you guys to the finals. What is my bag at? Where is this at? Because this is a crazy overpay for Trae Young. It's just hard to believe. I'm speechless.
Brunson, well, that was his decision. He took a cut, which worked out, obviously, with the championship, but he could definitely get his bag if he wanted to. Maybe he will now that they won it all. Maybe they'll restructure his deal, but I like that decision by him. That was a really good one. But Garrett, take it away.
Yeah, so one contract came to mind when I saw that Trae Young signed a 4-year, $212 million deal. And that was Bradley Beal when he signed with the Wizards. And I'm like, man, the Wizards must just have a lot of cash laying around because they're just throwing it as these guys who, I mean, it's Trae Young reminds me of Bradley Beal in a lot of ways, where he is an empty calorie player. He's going to fill up the stat sheet, but he's not going to fill up the win column. And he's somebody who's willing to accept all this money. He's not concerned about taking a pay cut to make the team any better. We saw it with Bradley Beal where, yeah, he gave him maybe 1 or 2 good years after that. And then they're like, oh, what are we doing? We got to move on from this. Luckily, they found the Suns to take part of that contract on. But, I mean, if you're the Wizards, like, I think there's a reason that the Hawks moved on from a 27-year-old who took them to the conference finals. They didn't believe that he was going to take them any farther. They didn't think they could win with him. And like you guys said it best, they sort of took off as a team a little bit after he exited. He's a small, undersized point guard who needs the ball in his hands. Now, that doesn't sound as bad after Jalen Brunson just won the NBA championship. But, I mean, Trae Young does not, he can't play off the ball. He needs the ball in his hands. He plays absolutely no defense. And Jalen Brunson is a 10 times better. I'd give the ball to him every time over Trae Young. And now it limits the Wizards as to what they can do with the rest of their roster because Trae Young's taken up, half their salaries pretty much going to him. And what is the Wizards' plan now? I thought we were going to have, Trae Young, Anthony Davis, AJ DeBonsa, this big three coming in. They still have Alex Sarr, the number 2 overall pick from a few years ago. But now the rumors that Anthony Davis doesn't even want to play with the Wizards. And if he wants out of Washington, they're definitely not going to win anything. I feel like this might stunt the growth of DeBanza a little bit now that Trae Young's going to have the ball in his hands all the time. I'm not trying to be so harsh on Trae Young. I just don't see a world where he can be the first or even the second best player on a championship team. And for me, watching the Wizards do it to Bradley Beal and now seeing this again with Trae Young, Cole, we like to say you could have, used the money better just blowing your nose.
No, seriously. This Wizards franchise they're just begging on 2 knees for their fan base to believe in them. I do think they're going to keep Anthony Davis. I think he's going to stay. I don't think he's going to be moved because, as much as I hate to say it, I don't think Anthony Davis is the type of guy who values winning over the bag. And I don't think Trae Young is that guy either, clearly. So that big 3 you talked about, maybe the smallest big 3 I've ever heard of in my entire life. But nevertheless, that's going to be their big 3 going into the season. They're imploring the fan base to believe in the fact that this team can make the playoffs, which, I don't know. It's a very, very weak Eastern Conference that maybe some would say got a little better with that Giannis moves the Heat up from a play-in team to an actual playoff caliber team. So maybe it opens up that one spot for the Wizards to sneak into the play-in. I don't know if I see Anthony Davis playing over 40 games this season. It's just not something he does in his career. So I'm going to believe it when I see a type of guy. And I don't see how it's going to mesh well. I guess great you have Anthony Davis with Trae Young, which is a lob threat and a great passer. Now we're just going to have to see how AJ mixes in. Maybe we're all going to be wrong. Maybe the Wizards will shock us with a 45-win season, which would be exceptional for them. But I don't love the move. I'd take almost any other point guard for substantially less money than Trae Young at his current state. Did he play over 20 games last season? I don't think he did.
I think he played 5 years. No, jeez, I'm sorry. God. I think he played a little bit over 20. And did he play for Washington? I think he played five games.
I think he played 5 games for Washington. Did he play over? Maybe he had over 20, but it was right around there, so I don't know.
Yeah, I would have to look at it. I mentioned the bidding war with Milwaukee. The Wizards didn't win a bidding war; they just invented one. No team was lining up to max out Trae Young. Like I said before, not after Atlanta dumped him for scraps. Like I said, 5 games for Washington. Year after year, he's been declining efficiency and bottom tier defense, atrocious. But somehow the Wizards convinced themselves that imaginary teams were coming, and they paid him like Steph Curry with a burner account. And here's the wildest part here. It honestly just makes this is my hot take here, not my what I'm just coming up with right now. It just sounds like their goal is just to be perfectly mediocre. I don't know. It's just the ideal engine for Trae Young just to be for a team trying to finish ninth or maybe in the play-in every single year. I mean, we'll have to see how it plays out. I really like Debanza. I really hope they get him at number 1 today. But I don't know. AD, injury prone, Trae Young declining. We'll have to see what happens here.
Yeah, I mean, mediocre is a step up from where they've been the last few years towards the bottom of the lottery.
Yeah,
maybe they saw the new lottery reform and they're like, all right, we got to be between the 4th and the 12th best records.
Something. I mean, it's It sounds like it's the. Yeah,
so one more thing to touch on before Will gives us his hot take. Dusty May, the head coach of the reigning national champions in college basketball, the Michigan Wolverines, has agreed to become the next coach of the Dallas Mavericks. I think 2 reasons here is, I guess, 3 main reasons. The first one being he may never get this chance again to become the head coach of a good NBA franchise and a trusted franchise like the Mavericks. The second one is the college basketball landscape is just chaos right now, and there's not really certainty as to what it may look like, even for a storied university in Michigan. And then another reason why I think he took this job was the ability to coach the former number 1 overall pick Cooper Flagg.
Yeah, I mean, well, he took Michigan Wolverines to consecutive finals appearances to final games appearances, I guess, and he won the last one. So that was worded oddly, but I don't really see. Again, I'm always believe it when I see a type of guy. He's never been an NBA assistant coach or anything within the NBA, so I don't really know if it's going to do much for the Mavericks. I know he likes to play a fast-paced game, so maybe that suits a Cooper Flagg very well with how athletic he is. But other than that, I don't have much to say on this one.
Yeah, nothing much either. I know we got 2 more minutes left, so I'll try to be quick. Yeah, when you have most of your production going in the first round of today's draft, I mean, not saying Michigan would not have been solid for this upcoming basketball season, but if I'm Dusty May, I see Mara, Johnson, and Lendenborg going in the draft today. My talent's gone. Let me see what else is out there. I'm gonna go fishing, and fishing he did. He caught a.
Well, I think he's keeping some of his talent because the Mavericks have the number 9 overall pick today,
Yeah.
and now everybody's mocking, including myself, Ade Mara to the Mavericks at number 12. And if it's not him, I think it's going to be one of the other Michigan guys. So maybe he's like, you know what? I'll take this job, and we can keep at least one of my guys.
I think so too.
That'd be funny.
All right, do you want to start a new one for your hot take?
Yeah, I mean, there's a minute left. Unless his hot take is pretty freezing and we just agree with him right away.
We probably should do another one.
Yeah.
Hot take. Saw this on TikTok. I think you guys will disagree, but I don't know. I could also, I don't know. All right.
Anything's better than last time.
Wow. All right. If you had to pick who is going to score or has a better chance of scoring 100 points, prime Klay Thompson or prime Steph Curry?
Let me guess your hot take is that it's Klay Thompson.
Look, I'm not saying, okay, hold on. I'm not saying that prime Klay is better than prime Steph Curry. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying he's better at scoring. I'm not saying he's better at offensive ability. But we know how good prime Klay was. I think back in the day, he showed multiple times. And I remember, like, I had to watch some Klay Thompson highlights to confirm this. He can score in bunches. Off the dribble, maybe some catch and shoots, some pump fakes, get guys in the air. You know, someone's trailing him. Get his feet set, get a little pump fake, get him jumping. He doesn't have a high usage. I get that. But I believe, as I was thinking about this more, that prime Klay Thompson has a better chance of scoring 100 points compared to prime Steph Curry.
That right there. It's the craziest thing. Okay, I'm going to let you go ahead because I know Curry is your guy. But I want to quickly say one or two things. So, obviously, I assume our first immediate thoughts were Klay when he dropped 60 and it was 39 and a quarter on like 13 dribbles or whatever it was. But he needed a guy to get him the ball, And that's a massive thing when you're dropping 100 because once he gets up to that 70 mark, don't you think they're going to double team him? And I just don't know if Klay Thompson's bag is deep enough to where he's going to create that many good shots for himself. Whereas Stephen Curry, I mean, I don't have to say anything and I won't go into heavy detail on the type of scorer he is. But Garrett, I just want to quickly say that. I mean, that's wow. These hot takes should only be you from now on.
Yeah,
Garrett, go ahead.
So Klay Thompson's career high is 60 points, and Steph Curry's 62. So if you take those numbers, kind of justifies your hot take a little bit. Now, these are the two greatest shooters to ever play on the same team, two of the greatest shooters of all time, if not the two greatest, two of my favorite players of all time. Probably out of my top three, I got to throw Draymond in there as well. But Steph Curry is the greatest scoring point guard this game has ever seen. In my opinion, the greatest point guard, but if we're talking about scoring 100 points, you need to put the ball in the hoop. Klay Thompson, yes, he holds the record for most points in a quarter, which is obviously a good argument in your hot take here. And, Bam had 83 on a Tuesday, so maybe Klay could score 100. But the answer is obviously Steph Curry. I mean, this dude can light it up from anywhere. He holds every single three-point record that matters. I know Klay has a lot of three-point records himself, or at least did before Steph broke them. But no, Steph scoring 100 points. I mean, Steph already gets double teamed every game, and he still puts up 30 and 40-point games. Like Cole said, if he's going to get to 100, the other teams are going to start doubling him. I do agree that he can get hot, and I think he's more likely to score 100 than maybe some other ball-dominant people. Maybe the take could have been Klay's more likely to get 100 than Jalen Green, but no, it's Steph. The easy answer and the obvious answer and the right answer is Steph, and maybe he'll get to 100 next year.
Also, I know, Garrett, you talked about how Curry's career high is 62 and Clay's is 60, but if you take it at the volume, Curry has had over 50 points 15 times in his career. Klay Thompson has had over 54 times in his career. So he's done it a staggering 11 times more than he has. And that's, like Gary said, getting consistently double teamed. Whereas Klay is a catch and shoot type of guy who can get just as hot as about anyone. But, I mean, you got to create shots for yourself at some point if you want to get to 100. I mean, 60, you're only 10 points away from being halfway there. So you're pretty far away. And I can see Curry as that guy who can maneuver his way around the defense and put up buckets in various different ways than Klay can, which is pretty much just catch and shoot. Maybe one off the dribble, like you said, maybe a pump fake and a guy fly by, but other than that, I don't see him taking it to the rack that much.
All right, you guys ready for my rebuttal?
Yeah.
All right. Comparing both the Splash brothers, I still think Klay is, without a doubt, I think he can do it. I don't think it's about the one who dribbles like a Harlem Globetrotter, aka Stephen Curry. I think it's the one who doesn't dribble at all. Prime Klay, he's not the most explosive guy in the world. I know he tore his ACL, but the league has never seen a guy that shoots it and scores efficiently per touch, not per game, not per usage, per touch. I would have to pull up his stats, but I have him right here. 37 points in one quarter, 60 points on 11 dribbles, 52 points in 26 minutes, and he did all of that without hijacking the offense. I think he has the possibility to do it. Prime Klay Thompson, I think he can do it, boys.
I mean, I think there's a reason that Klay has only gotten over the 50-point mark 4 times, and there's a reason that Steph averaged more points than Klay, because if you forgot about Klay, then he could light you up and he could catch fire like we saw. But at some point, if you're going to put your emphasis on Klay, he's not an ISO scorer. He's not going to beat you for one-on-one buckets, which is kind of what it takes to score 100 in a game. Cole, you look like you want to say something else.
Well, I just think the whole efficiency argument is complete asinine. If you go by the error-adjusted scoring, Stephen Curry is the gold standard for the most efficient scorer in NBA league history. So not only is he efficient, but there's nobody more efficient than he is if you go by the error-adjusted scoring. So I don't know. That's a tough argument to make. I do love your hot takes because they're scorching hot. I mean, I'm gonna have to start applying some sunscreen before I come on for these videos because I might get burnt through the screen. But I don't know. I want to agree with you so badly, but it's pretty
Hey,
impossible.
I think okay. I'll do one more. I don't like I said. I don't think Clay's better. I think Curry's better, but I think Clay can become more unstoppable, untouchable, and unguardable. Because think about it. When Bam scored 83, hold on here. When Bam scored 83 points, yeah, they were doubling him, but it was terrible defense. Bam was getting to the line, he was still scoring.
Yeah, but think about all the
Can
players.
Clay do that?
Think about all the players who have scored like 70 or more in like league history. It's all guys who can just take over a game and dominate. And Steph is way more likely to do that than Clay is. Clay,
Also,
I mean,
sorry,
look at Bam. Bam was just running through guys to the basket. What asset of Clay's game, if you send a double team at him, is he just going to be able to, like, he's not going to be able to dribble past you like Steph is. He's not going to be able to move through you like Bam is. If you're taking away his shot, he's going to really struggle to score a lot more than Steph is.
also, not to mention, we've never seen anyone have over 70 points that isn't the primary number one option for a team. So that in itself is a massive factor because you're just not going to get up as many looks if you're not the number one option, which Clay has never been, due to the fact that Stephen Curry was on his team in his prime.
All right, now I'm not calling this my hot take because I don't even know what I think, but who wins in a 3-point contest, prime Steph or prime Clay?
Prime
Steph.
Clay.
Steph. Didn't Steph literally beat him in a 3-point contest in the prime? They did it together and Steph beat him.
I'm pretty sure he did.
I don't think Clay was trying.
Steph Curry literally had to retire from the 3-point contest because he was too good. He won every year.
Yeah, I think Clay would win.
It looks like you're fact checking me, Garrett, but I'm almost certain that Steph Curry beat him.
They both competed in 2015 and in 2016. Steph won in 15 and Clay won in 16.
Oh, okay, there you go.
I did not know they did it twice. Not know that.
I didn't know they did it twice either. Well, that makes it very intriguing. I got my money on Curry.
It's hard to bet on Steph. Maybe if they have those like Sprite 4-point balls from deep, that's gonna give Steph that.
You think it's hard to bet on Steph?
I'm picking Steph because I can't not pick Steph, but just sitting there catching off a rack and shooting, there's nobody who has a more consistent, easier to repeat stroke than Klay Thompson, but Steph's still winning.
Well, you say that because you've seen Clay do it. You haven't seen Steph Curry do it as much because he hasn't had that opportunity to where he's just a catch and shoot guy because he's always been double teamed. And the one time he did have that opportunity was with KD, and it seemed like he never missed.
Well, I mean, like, in terms of like the actual form of the shot, like Clay's shot is so simple. It's so easy for him to just repeat it over and over again. And we're kind of splitting hairs because let's be honest, none of these guys are missing more than probably 3-pointers, three 3-pointers in their prime. But I mean, especially if there's a deep shot, I'm definitely taking Steph because his range is way better than Clay's. But it's not like Steph can't like catch and shoot as well as Clay can. I think he can do it better. It's just Clay, we've obviously seen more because of their roles. But I mean, they face off twice and they split, so I think it's kind of up in the air. But Steph is the greatest shooter of all time, so I think he has to be the answer.
Yeah, I mean, I would pay a lot of money to watch that, or I'd pay a lot of money to put my money on Curry. And just looked it up, and the numbers are agreeing with us that it is as close as it can be. Steph Curry on wide open 3-pointers throughout his career shoots anywhere from 44 to 48%, while Klay Thompson shoots anywhere from 44 to 46%. So the numbers are pretty much identical because they're really just giving a longer range for Curry. So
yeah, so
you ask ChatGPT, Chat who wins in a
in 2015. The 2015 3-point contest was held in Brooklyn. It was the first time both of them ever did it. Clay got out in the first round and Steph won. The next year in Toronto, when they did it, Clay and Steph actually faced off in the final, and Clay won with a score of 27-23.
Oh, but if you look at it, Stephen Curry actually has a 2-1 record when versing Klay Thompson. They both did 2015, 2016, as we talked about, but then they were also both in 2018, which neither of them won. But Stephen Curry did beat Klay Thompson. So,
Will?
He's 2-1 against them.
Guys, I don't. I still stand by Clay. I'm sorry.
Well, whoever wins in a 3-point contest, it's not an actual game where Steph would definitely score 100 before Clay.
Hey, you don't
Clay
know
would, I think Clay would score. I've already stood on my hot take. I think Clay would score more 100 points. He'd have a better chance.
Yeah, maybe delete TikTok.
No, bro. TikTok's where I'm on heaters sometime on TikTok, so I can find it. I'll have to try to find the video. I'll have to find it. I should have sent it.
I think that's enough there to wrap up episode 8 of 5-8 Takes. We welcome all of you for joining us and all of us getting to experience another Will Tian hot take. I know I'm a lucky guy for getting to sit here and really hear it live come out of his mouth because it truly is an out-of-this-world experience. But I'm hoping you guys got a little bit of that taste by watching online.
Yeah, anybody with a pool or a body of water near them, go ahead and jump in there and cool off. Because you might be burning a little bit from the words that are coming out of Will Tian's mouth.
Yeah, I did not think it could get hotter than last week. And maybe it did, maybe it didn't. I'm honestly not sure where those two rank.
Just wait till next week.
Well,
next week.
With that said, follow us on all of our other socials, TikTok and Instagram.